Hello, one and all, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is November the 29th of 2023, and no, I don't know why I did that voice. Sometimes weird sounds come out of my mouth, and I don't know what the reasoning is behind them, because I just kind of keep on talking, and that's how you do it.
Aren't all sounds weird sounds when you think about it? Like, isn't the fact that, like, our meat tunnels, like, create sound at all just kind of weird when you think about it?
The fact that they create sound, I don't think is weird. I'm pretty sure that evolution is to blame for that.
But like that we create a sound that like my meat tube is making sounds right now that your meat tube ears are understanding and processing. I'm just saying, as humans, we have a lot of meat tubes involved in our body.
Neither of us have degrees in biology.
No, if you thought Quinn History Assassin was bad, Quinn Science Assassin be even worse. They're like, can you use a simple poison to kill this person? I'm like, yes. Like,
yeah, that will really clog up their meat tunnels.
Yeah, their meat tunnels are going to be all discombobulated. They're like, she's excelled in one subject and its vocabulary. Perhaps after this, I shall be lionized. They're like, she's failed every hit we put her on. But she throws out a nice word every now and then. It really reminds us that, takes a village.
What is her secret? As you hide your word-a-day calendar in your back pocket, you'll never find out. I'm very surreptitious about this.
I reveal myself, I don't know any big words. I just keep mispronouncing them. I'm like, well, I don't want to hyperbole here, but I do believe that I might be the greatest assassin of all times.
What does she mean by hyperbole? I don't know. Must be some sort of really dangerous assassin term. Don't provoke her by calling her out on it.
It's just me trying to reload the word of the day calendar on my phone. Come on, they've heard all my goodness. I need another good one.
Damn it, I knew I should have subscribed for more than 1 month.
I knew I should have given these guys $2.
I just don't make enough job for my assassination job.
I keep failing the assassination jobs, so I only get like the office credits basically. That's not a lot. So.
Oh man, I gotta make another dummy account so I can get the free trial period.
Quinn at hyperbole.com.
No, I hope they don't actually confirmation email this time.
Oh
man. All right. Well, it's a good thing that we just start talking about weird stuff, because it's not a normal week of manga. It's some weird stuff this week, including a new series that is just debuted in Shonen Jump. We've had that quarterly period again. And we'll get into that shortly, but we've got some other stuff to do first. It's ramen cooking time.
Yeah.
In Undead Unluck. There's no My Hero Academia this week. It is off.
Yes.
Should be back this coming Sunday.
Yes, there's no My Hero, so we're going to start off with Undead Unluck number 185, Eat Up. So last time Fuko met Engine, challenged him to a cook-off because she thinks that his dish is missing something that the previous loop's Engine had discovered, so she wants to help him discover it. We opened the chapter with Nico being like, okay, so you ignored my advice and started a fight with a professional ramen cooker, a professional ramen fight against a professional ramen cooker. And
it's a good thing that we've got Nico around here to constantly tell Fuko, all right, you ignored my advice. So
so now we're here, and he's just like, all you've done is like picked a fight with him, and if we lose, he'll just be really pissed at us. And Fuko's just like, words would have never really won him over. And he's like, are all these fucking people like fucking Neanderthals? Does nobody just respond to words anymore? You had to beat them in a hospital match or a fucking ramen cook-off? Like, what is this? He's eating a ramen. He's like, look, this is fine ramen, but this is nothing compared to what he had. But Fuko's like, no, we're going to be fine. And we cut over and we see basically the kids of the group are having a good time. They're all trying to cook. Gina's starting to spill some. So Chikara's like, oh no, I'm going to stop it. And Sean's like, oh, get it? But he keeps closing his eyes to do it. So it's just very silly in general.
Everyone being goofballs.
Yeah. Everyone very silly. But Fuko looks at it and she's reminded of her times of eating with Andy, and then the time she spent with Under and eating with them. So she just kind of laughs and watches along. And she's like, look, it's my turn to give back now. Let's use our ramen to reach Mr. Engine and inspire him to make it. Because they can't figure out what or rather, Nico is like, what is his dish missing? She's coy about that. So it's the day of the showdown. We're not doing any build up to it. We're here.
I mean, how much training montage can a non-cooking series do for a cooking manga competition?
That is very true. It'll become astronomically difficult to tell you which character is which now that they're all wearing the exact same headband. So the tool of trying to identify characters based on their hairstyles is no longer effective. I believe that is...
Fortunately, Gina's got her fang.
Yes. I can identify Gina. There's also only so many, like, blonde women or light hair women in the group, but the person next to him could either be Sean, Rip, or somebody else. I feel like there's a third person I'm missing, and I don't know who it's supposed to be. It's irrelevant. Right. Everybody's actually taking part in this competition, as we'll see. So the rules are pretty simple. Both of them are just going to cook ramen. Whoever sells the most wins. And Engine's like, cool, fine by me. I'm going to give you guys everything I have. And, you show me that something that I'm missing through the heart of your bowl. They begin the competition. And Engine, we spend a lot of time. Shen, that's the other person it could have been. That's correct. We see, although he's buff, he's very buff. So I feel like I should be able to pick Shen out. I'm distracted. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We spend a lot of time with Engine in this because he's there being like, I wonder what they're going to do. I mean, they got guts, but that's not anything. I mean, like, this is professional ramen cooking, which is what this profession is called legally. Everything matters, including the way you chop vegetables.
I mean, guts matter when you're cooking, but they matter even more when you're eating.
Mm-hmm. So who's going to be chopping the vegetables, Nick? Who else than Unrepair? Rip is chopping up these vegetables, and all the slices look so vibrant and so crisp. And Fuko just explains, she's like, look, it negates, Unrepair negates the vegetable's ability to, like, close the fibers after they've been cut, which means they maintain peak freshness. We are going to use supernatural abilities to catch up with you because you are insanely talented. And Engine's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but sounds good.
He's too much of a dummy. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I won't say he's too much of a dummy. I think we have like this once per arc where Fuko runs into somebody and has to explain what a negator is. And they're like, I don't know what you mean, but, sounds cool, I guess. We see that she is using other members of her team to do things. Gina is using her Unchange to basically remove like the scum at the top to like kind of get like a very, I guess, clear broth. Everyone's personal favorite, of course, is Yusai is told to use Undraw so that the umami flavor doesn't get drawn from the pork. And she's like, I don't know where's the umami? And
it's like, right here. It's right here.
She's like, here. And she's like, where? And Engine's just like, okay, so it seems like only the vegetable thing that you really got right now. But he's just like, look, I'm not going to cut any corners, you guys. He does a taste test. And then we cut over to Fuko talking to Sean, and she's like, hey, I need you to get me something. We don't find out what it is, but we know that his reaction is like, huh, why do I have to buy something like that? And she's like, no, shh, don't say why. And she's like, all right, fine, I'll go get it. The two of them are, I don't know what this process is in ramen where you kind of like shake the basket. I'm not a professional ramen cooker, as
I
I've.
believe it's to filter it.
Is it to filter it? But they both do it at the same time, and it's a very cool sort of parallel. As Fuko's saying, you know, it's your ramen that introduced me to the wonders of ramen and the sickest ingredient that you arrived at. So we flash back to Fuko's time in Under in the previous loop, and she is talking to Engine. She's just like, hey, you know, I've been a shut-in for a while, so you couldn't really call me like a gourmet or anything, but that dish you just treated me to was really warm. And he's like, oh, well, there was ginger in her. She's like, no, not like that. I just mean, like, I lost my mom. And this felt like my mom made this dish. So Engine hops down from his floating chair. And he says, okay, then. Well, let's just say I borrowed a teaspoon of your old lady's love. And he pats her on the head. And he just kind of waves off. And he's like, let's just say that is the secret ingredient. And let me know if you ever want it again. So we cut back to the present. Fuko is shouting out to Engine, and she just says, eating ramen is great, isn't it? They're both in the thrill of competition, so they're like, fuck yeah, it is. It's the coolest thing in the world anyone's ever going to do. Eating with everyone is bliss. This rules. This is why I became a cook. And he's serving up his saying. He says, I didn't want to be the one eating, but the one making everyone happy. I wanted to serve them up these bowls. And he is serving up food ridiculously quickly. 50 orders of ramen at once. And it's his giant, like, overflowing bowls of ramen. And they're like, wow, that's really efficient. And he's like, yeah, the speed is part of this battle. You gotta serve the customers. Fastest option usually tends to be pretty good. And everyone's chowing down. They're like, fuck, it's really good. Like, even Nico's like, damn, it's even better than the last time I had it. Like, it's slightly more crisp even than before.
Engine was not resting on his laurels waiting for the competition. He was also training to get better.
Yes. And Nico's just like, we don't stand a chance. But all of a sudden, they start seeing smoke coming out of the food stall that Fuko and company are running out of. And Engine's like, oh no, something, they must have just like not known what to do about something. So he's running over like, are you guys okay? And Fuko starts to emerge from this smoke. And she says, Mr. Engine, let me ask you a question. I know there's someone you really want to feed that ramen to. And he's like, I just told you, I want to serve it to everybody. And she's like, no, I mean the person you really want to feed this to. I made this ramen for you, the future you. And she is holding this bowl of ramen in front of her, and there is a dome of smoke contained over the top of it. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, how is this dome here? This is incredible. And, you know, bowls are starting to be served to people. And he's just like, I could tell. This is crazy. Her love for ramen is genuine. And he lifts off the top this dome, presumably an unchanged kind of barrier over the top of it.
Right.
But upon doing it, all this steam sort of like explodes from the bowl. And we end the chapter with Fuko saying, now then, eat up.
Yeah, this is a very weird little chapter. It obviously brings back a little bit of the Food Wars vibes, you know, all this intense competition over food. And like that shot of Fuko and Engine, you know, side by side, panel against panel of them being like, oh, eating ramen is great. It's like they're having a fist fight. There's so much intensity behind it. But also, this gives me a lot of like Dr. Stone kind of feeling, where it's just this really intense moment of like just a random thing that's individually probably not going to play very much into the overall plot beyond how it affects like a single character.
Yeah.
But it's still nice because of all this that's being put into it, and how, you know, one more cog in the machine is very valued for what it's going to accomplish in that sense. So this is, you know, proven to be a nice little aside for what it is for right now.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of really strong moments in this chapter. I think we both had a strong reaction to the little flashback where she's just like, "This food's really warm. It's like my mom made it." And he's like, "Well, let's just say that's a secret ingredient, a teaspoon of your mom's love." And it's like, "Oh, that's very sweet." Just a reminder that Fuko's like, "Oh, I'm like an orphan at this point. That sucks." But being able to taste that food again is very enriching, and just like the way I was about to say Food Wars, the way that Undead Unluck jumps from genre to genre so frequently is always just very satisfying. Like, I'm gonna get excited in a hospital drama. I'm gonna get excited in a cooking competition. I'm gonna get excited in a boxing match. Like, it's all cool. Some are better than others, but this so far has been pretty fun, and I'm curious to see what sort of the main trick to all of this is.
Absolutely. Let's go on to Blue Box.
Blue Box.
My phone seems to be ready for that too. It just booped at me. All right. Chapter 127, Kiss Me Goosebumps. Ugh. So, we are now past the sports festival that has been for the last few chapters, and all of a sudden we're back at Badminton Club stuff. As it's announced who are going to be the members for the singles division, and that's going to be Nishida, the captain, Haruyu, of course, Taiki, duh, Kyo, a couple of guys who are so NPCs that we don't see their faces,
John, Jacob, like sure.
And Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Jingleheimer Schmidt, you earned your way on here. You were an alternative last year. You earned your journey. He's like, Coach, you spelled Jingleheimer Schmidt wrong. And they're like, look, kid, they charge us per the letter, okay? We had to cut a couple letters out for you.
I'm sorry, I got you mixed up with the other Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is your name, too. Put that one away. Put that on the old trophy case.
Oh, man. That's so fucking stupid, but I love that.
Anyway, the actual other person who got in.
Done, Nick. Who cares? This chapter recaps can.
We don't have time for any of this teenage love. We don't have any time for this cutesy teenage love drama. We peaked.
Fuck, that was really funny.
Haruto is the last person who is gonna get to participate in singles for the club, and he gets pretty happy with himself. He's like, oh, hey, now I get to show you what I'm really made of. And talking to Taiki about it, and everyone's a little bit hyped over like, hey, all these new members have been declared, and Ayame says like, yeah, I should up my game, I'm gonna do that, and goes like, oh, you sound like you're excited as like a player. And she says, well, maybe I could play on the girls' badminton team. And he's like, even though you can barely serve, just immediately shoots her down. And so she gets a little upset with him, but then she remembers the time that he grabbed her hand during the sports festival, and instead she just goes, turns away from him.
Yeah.
So teenagers, the rhythmic gymnastics club is practicing. Hina is doing her routine. The manager is like, yes, wonderful, yes, good, so good, so good. And then she catches Taiki, passing by with his team, and she points to us like, spectator fee, 2,000 yen. Calling back to the thing that she did at like the very start of the manga. But then also Haruto is right next to him, and she says, and for you, 15,000 yen. Which, fair enough, given the comment that he made before. And my boy, like, you're going to need to be able to put a cap on this thing, because he's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry for the way I talk. And then he just can't help himself. Immediately, gaze starts drooping downwards at the skin-tight outfit. And, he gets bonked for it.
So the ribbon gets the hard part of the ribbon that you hold gets thrown right into his head.
It'd be very impressive if she managed to bonk him with the ribbon part of
Yeah.
it.
Throws it, it perfectly wraps around his neck and starts strangling him.
Then we also cut over to Chinatsu. They're holding a practice match with the basketball club. And they're getting like serious about it, going over like weaknesses with their coach and everything. And her friend says, "Yeah, my friend had a practice match against Saisho, and they're like really tough because Yumika is on their team now. She is like back up to top form already. It's like she never missed a step. It's like, and it's like the entire team is leveled up because of her." And Chinatsu says, "I see. Gives me goosebumps." And she's just like kind of quietly excited about this. And then we follow her afterwards. She kind of like practices by herself outside, and Yumika comes by while she's practicing her shots, and she's saying, you're practicing as hard as ever, huh?" And Chinatsu's like, "Yeah, you've been working hard too, I guess." And Yumika says, "Yeah, thank you. I'm glad I'm playing basketball again." Just this nice little smile on her face. And she also says, I kind of regret the time that I missed. But because of that, I can focus way harder now, and it's all thanks to the two of you, Chinatsu. Aww.
Yeah, it's very, very sweet.
And Chinatsu just says, "Hey, the fact that you're playing again makes me really happy." And Yumika kind of dribbles the ball a little bit, and she says, "Hey, do you remember how we used to practice here when we were little kids? When our teammates were being bitches to you, just being the fucking awful little kids about it." And Chance's like, "No, that wasn't why we practiced here. We would do it when the coach got mad at you." But Yumika says, even though we've always been friends, soon we're going to be enemies. That's called being rivals. It's a shonen thing. You're in a shonen. I know you've been in a cutesy manga this whole time, Chinatsu, but you're in a shonen. I'm sorry. It's a sports manga. So then we cut to a different scene. There's a lot of jumping around in this chapter. And to a conversation between Nishida and Haru. And Nishida's like, "Oh, what did the teacher want to talk to you about?" Because Haru's coming back from that and says, "Oh, yeah, he wanted to ask about my career path questionnaire." Because they're both third years, of course, in their last year of high school. And Nishida says, "By golly, I hate thinking about the future." And Nishida's like, "I mean, you could like have a little bit of a sense of the future. You're going to be 18 soon." And she's like, "I can't believe we're already third years. By golly." He's like, "You keep on saying by golly. You sound like an old man." Well, yeah, but like, think about it. Everything we do in school from now on, it's going to be the last time we do it. And that actually really gets to Haru. And he just paused for a second. He goes, "Oh, by golly."
Well,
These dorks.
It is a skill of a good writer, though, to take this conversation and put a fun sort of twist into it. Or not twist, but like a fun gimmick to it to make this conversation interesting. Because this could have just been two characters who sit there and are like, "Hey, we're both third years. Everything we do is going to be the last thing. Wow, crazy." I do like the gimmick of by golly and like sounding like an old man and then being like, "Damn, by golly."
This is the most human that Nishida has ever seemed. Too.
Yeah, well, he's not cock blocking anyone actively in this scene, so.
Just think, Haru, this is going to be the last year I'm going to get to complain about everyone else having a girlfriend and not me.
This will be the last year that I keep people from being with their significant others during the holidays because I'm alone.
Oh, man, I hope I get to be the captain of a club in college so I can keep on screwing over more people. Then Taiki and Haruto have a practice match. And Taiki thinks about something and realizes that he needs to improve his skills, and so he asks Haruto, "Hey, can you teach me like that trick shot that you do? Because I figure if I learn it, it would make me a stronger player." But Haruto says, "I mean, I could, but you should have Hyodo teach it to you, because I think that the ideal style of play for you is similar to Hyodo's.
That's an interesting little nugget.
Speaking of Hyodo, Akari comes by, and she's she's passing by Taiki. Is like, should I try talking to him? So she works up her nerve and say, Inamata senpai, would you come over this weekend?
They don't clarify it enough. Maybe she screams this. Like there are people behind her that have like the water droplets of like, this is awkward. You're saying this really, really loud.
And both Taiki and Haruto look at her like, huh? What are you doing here? And she says, no. I was planning to practice with my big bro, and so I figured I should ask you. And Haruto says, yeah, why don't we go? Why the two of us go, Taiki senpai? Because, nothing's going to beat instruction from a guy who's already been to nationals. And Taiki's like, oh, so you're coming too? And like Akari was like, I guess not expecting this. Yeah. Which makes sense. She did ask Taiki, so.
Yeah, she asked Taiki, but she asked him right next to another member of the badminton team, so understandably he is like, oh, the offer is for everyone who is right here, which is also me.
Right. Also, maybe afterwards we can go stare at Hida, because she wears tight outfits sometimes, and I like that. So you need to stop. You need to stop talking.
You're really digging yourself a hole. You're giving yourself a new gimmick. It's not a good one. I also like the chapter ends with Taiki like, oh, instruction from Hyodo. He just got told he plays a lot like Hyodo. Now he's like almost like a little Hyodo struck. He's like, oh, I could see Hyodo senpai. Really?
Oh my, yeah, be a good Batman player. Wow.
Fun chapter. A lot of like goofy, silly stuff going on. There's some good jokes, just like stuff to laugh about, and then also like some stuff to ponder. Very sweet moments with Chinatsu, and oh gosh, what's her name? I want to say
Yumika.
Yumika? Yeah.
Yumika.
I think I was thinking of her team for a moment, and then I realized, no, that's Chinatsu's team. Yeah. But that's a very cute moment. The moment with Haruto and Nishida. Like, just good stuff. Or not Haruto. What's his name? Fuck, I forget every character.
Haru.
There's too many H's, Nick. There's too many H's in this goddamn series.
Kyoto, Haruto, Haru.
Yeah. But good stuff.
Hinatsu, Heiki,
Hingelheim.
Yo.
Hingelheimer, Schmidt, all the classics. And now we've nicely put a bow on that. Nick, can we talk very briefly about Spy Family, which only had 4 pages, 3 pages of content this week?
Yeah. This is one of those like special illustration chapters that's just kind of like off weeks for the series. Very sad like illustrations, just like Anya in like an empty house, it looks like.
Yeah.
But the chapter itself, it begins innocently enough. It's a flashback to really early on in the story. So like Anya has like just enrolled at Eden Academy. But she's, watching cartoons, and she sees like a little name sign on a character's door, and she's like, I want one of those name things in my room. And they're like, yeah, okay. And they like let Anya like carve out her name herself, but when she puts it down, it's spelled Ania, which of course is not how her name is spelled. It's spelled Anya, and Lloyd points this out to her, and Anya just kind of gets this blank look on her face for saying, oh, okay.
Nah.
And so they fix it, and then the last page is just, she's got her new name sign, which is, has been showing up, throughout the story since then. She's got her little stuffed lion guy, and she's just lying on her bed, and she just says, Anya. And
it's so fucking cute.
It's very like, oh, right. Remember how Anya was like not treated as a little girl for like the first 4 years of her life, as far as we know. So yeah, there's maybe a bit of like pent up trauma in there still.
Yeah. So one thing that I guess was noted is that one of the ways it was read in Japanese was not like A-N-I-A. It was read like A-N/A.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, Anya, a child, just interpreted the slash as like a weird I or whatever. Or, you know, it could have been read maybe as a 1. It's just one of those things of like, maybe Anya means something different to her originally, and now it's very cute because she's like, oh no, it's my name, and I know my name, how it's spelled now. And I love just like seeing her eyes go from like clueless to being so full of life. It's just a very, very cool visual thing. But weirdly, in this chapter that is 3 pages long and is mostly a special illustration, you're like, oh, there might be deeper lore implications in this chapter than there have been for Anya in like 30 fucking chapters or so. Like this is maybe the most we've gotten for her in quite some time.
Yeah, were definitely hints that, like, you know, she's some sort of, you know, experimental person being because of her psychic abilities and stuff, but it has not been explored really since her introduction at all.
Yeah.
So, Okay. It's time. It's time for the chapter that's going to require deep analysis. So much deep analysis.
The analysis that this sucks. This is chapter 266 of Eden Zero, Soldier of Love. What a dumb title. So we do get a 2-page color spread, which is actually kind of nice because the colors used are like fun, exciting colors. There is still just the general nature that Hero's character designs are kind of bad, but I would not hate to look at this color spread in comparison to a lot of the other ones. But we actually had to get to the chapter itself, which is Mother is floating in space, and Rebecca and Shiki. I wish that was what we were talking about instead. Could we review Mother, the song, instead by, what was it, Wolf Guy? No, that's the manga. What's the name of the musician? Isn't it like Wolf something?
Isn't it like Danzig?
I thought there was a wolf in there somewhere. Mother song. Okay, Danzig.
Yeah, Danzig, yeah.
Why do I think there's a wolf in there? Maybe is the album called like Wolf something? Did I just
don't know, Quinn.
Did I conjure this out of nothing? Off their debut album Danzig. I have no idea where Wolf came in. Regardless, I would rather talk about
Mother, I remember when you called me Wolfgang.
I remember when my mother was a wolf. So,
oh, Wolf Mom!
Wolf Mom. That's why, Nick. I'm thinking of the old classic song, Wolf Mother. Where he just adds wolf in front of a couple different nouns. So stupid. So they see Mother, and they're like, wow, she's so beautiful. This is so magical. But Shiki's like, yeah, but there's a bad guy here too. And I had to stop him. Boom. He starts fighting. And at this point, you realize, I have no knowledge of a single character trait of Void's. Like, none.
No, of course not.
I don't think he's really talked.
No.
I don't think he's really done anything.
He's basically been talked about. That's kind of it.
So he's just like, no, as long as Mother exists, our world would never be complete. Therefore, I must destroy her. And Chiki's like, why do you hate humans so much? And Void doesn't even give a reason. He's like, they are foolish. You're like, whatever. There's so nothing to this chapter and any of the discussion that is actually had. So basically, they start punching each other. Void's gonna kill all the people. Shiki doesn't want it. And Shiki's like, well, who are you? And he's like, I am Void, the will of Eden's One. Because it would have been cool and actually interesting to have Shiki fight the giant ship. So instead, we just made a person-sized thing that he could fight instead in its place.
And I look suspiciously like Ziggy, too, so I don't even really need to think of a different design for this guy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But Shiki is like, no, my grandpa built the Eden's One. Grandpa would have never wanted a war against humans. And he's like, oh, but the One had AI. And the AI decided Ziggy was wrong. Humans are bad. And he's like, why? Why did he come to that conclusion? And he's like, because blood and war. Humans cause that. And Shiki's
it's all
like,
because
only
humans,
some humans.
not all humans.
And he punches Void, and he's like, no, sometimes we support each other, and we cherish our time together, and we love and are loved in return. That's what it means to be human. And Void's like, love! Love is what breeds hatred! Love is what creates war! It's so stupid.
I sometimes when we read in Zero, I do feel like, did Hiro actually write this, or did he give it to like an AI to write the dialogue? It's just the most generic good guy versus bad guy dialogue. There is nothing unique about what they are saying to either character.
Yeah.
And you were just talking about how it's like, we don't know a single thing about Void. And we still don't, because like we don't know anything about him beyond he's a bad guy in a hero series now. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not even like a base level of interest. His motivation is humans suck, I guess, because war happens and they're such silly people. But first and foremost, this is the same conversation Shiki has had for like 2 years now with his antagonist. I think like since Shura, basically, we've had like, oh, here's an antagonist with an actually different motivation that's not just kill all the humans. Now it's just, year 2 of hearing this speech of like, what about love? And it's very exhausting, but even more than that, it's just so devoid of any detail. Like, why does Void hate humans? It's like, 'cause they're bad. And what does he specifically hate about humans? What would be better if they weren't around? He's like, fight would not be, or whatever. Like, there's just nothing to his motivation whatsoever. But it's fine because he's stronger than Shiki in a way that is only established here and right now. He is more powerful than Shiki. He uses his gravity powers, and Shiki's like, I'm hurt. And he's like, I'm the will of the universe. And again, what does that mean? He traps Shiki in gravity, surrounded by chains. Shiki's like, oh no. Rebecca tries to fly in. He like pushes her away. And Shiki's like, don't worry, I'll be fine. He uses overdrive. And he's like, now I'm gonna defeat you. And I'm gonna use my strongest attack, a punch. And Void's like, no, I'm a robot, thus perfect. No human could surpass me. And they punch. And Shiki comes out on the losing end. It looks like Void is going to destroy him using a Dragon Ball Z attack. But who should show up, Nick? But Ziggy, and Ziggy punches him in the face. And Void is like, what? And Ziggy's like, don't worry, Shiki, I'll take care of him.
The voice that you've been using to read this is pretty much perfect for what this guy thinks. Oh,
This is a bad chapter. I know we talk about how Eden Zero is bad every single week. But this is like a special level of bad, which is intensely nothing. If you did tell me that he just had an AI generate this script, I would not be surprised. But also, I feel like an AI would put something in, or it's astonishing just how uninspired the dialogue in this chapter is. I don't know, maybe it sounds beautiful in Japanese and everyone's like, it's lost in translation, you don't understand the weight of their arguments, but this sucked dick.
That humans are good and not bad.
Yeah, they love Nick. It's like not even details, not even like an example of a human loving each other or something like that. He's just like, sometimes we enjoy the company of each other. You're like, all right.
Sounds very empty when he says it like that. And it's not like Shiki doesn't have many personal examples to draw from that you can talk about, like, the benefits of, humanity and the feeling of love and stuff, because, that's kind of like the big theme of the series is that like family and friendship and stuff are more powerful than like universal forces. So maybe he could like talk about some of those, but no, we have to have really generic punchy fights instead. And then Ziggy shows up and is like, all right, Ziggy's a good guy for right now. It makes me long for the days when we had chapter-ending flashback pages. Like, Ian Zero was bad and uninspired. Moving on. It's Cipher Academy, chapter 50. Tight-lipped when questioned, capable of destroying castles when speaking freely. All right, go off. It's continuing the virtual academy arc as we see that Iroha is in handcuffs and is being interrogated by two Dekis. He recaps a bit of off-screen action that has been taking place with his group. He says that the four people that were left on the mahjong floor realized that if they tied, that they would be able to all get first place and thus all be able to progress together. And they went through a couple of floors and eventually actually like split up in order to quote allocate risk. So he and Ensa separated from the other two and then eventually came across Oboro, who is on the karaoke floor. I guess. And we pull back and see that the two Dekis that are interrogating him are, of course, like good cop, bad cop. And they're on floor 100. And it does seem as though there's like something special about the hundreds, because this is a different sort of puzzle to solve than just solving a code of some kind. So they say, look, what I want to know is whether or not you killed Waon Wagure Nagusa, which was the name of the dead student way back during the murder mystery challenge that they had for the selection exam. And so I said, look, okay, all your accomplices are experiencing the same situation in their own interrogation rooms. And so good cop Dekii says, you all have the right to remain silent, but you can also betray your allies in order to try and get your sentence reduced. So the penalty for everybody keeping quiet is that they all receive a, quote, 12-hour sentence, which means that they have to just sit tight on the floor for that amount of time. However, if one person betrays the other two, they get to skip ahead 120 floors, and the others receive 48-hour sentences. If two people betray, then there's no bonus skip ahead, but the person who didn't get betrayed gets a sentence of 36 hours. And then if all of them betray each other, then they're all there for 24 hours. They double the sentences if no one had talked. So it's a pretty straightforward prisoner's dilemma type of thing, except that there are some like really, really, really good benefits from betraying your comrades, if you're the only one to do it. So all of them kind of like have this flashback to when one of their teachers that I don't think we've actually ever seen before was explaining like the idea of the prisoner's dilemma and game theory and stuff.
Yes.
And so they're trying to figure out what they should do in this case. And so Iroha is like, okay, yeah, it would be advantageous for both people to remain silent, but logically it actually makes the most sense to be a traitor. And Ensa's like, yeah, but we aren't prisoners. We're the Irohazaka League. And Oboro's like, yeah, we've been allied all the way since the Cassetet Quartet, when they, dumped their puzzles out together.
Yeah.
So, their bonds do go way back. But Oboro's like, but you could also say as a result of that it'd be easy to betray them at this point because of that. And before we see how that resolves, we jump away to a different floor, the kitchen floor, where some other students are cooking up codes. They're
Hey, Nick, let's put some respect on Quokka Edishite's mouth name.
Quokka, the bear one. It's like, yeah, things have been pretty easy since the interrogation room, but having to hibernate for 12 hours sure was boring. you just say you hibernate? I thought you were in a suit.
The line between girl and bear is very difficult to see. It's very faint.
But they point out, like, yeah, we were able to, like, unify our minds because of our instructor. Their instructor specifically was the one who taught the game theory class. But they're like, yeah, but what about the people who, came after us? Do you think that they were able to actually get through that? And Quokka says, what about that amateur? Talking about Iroha. It's like, well, if he hasn't grown since the trilemma, it could be tough. If he can only read people when looking at their faces, he won't have a move to make if he's isolated in an interrogation room. So, this could, really play into, this could be a huge setback for Iroha. What are we going to do? Ensa and Iroha are, going over the options, really pondering them. And Oboro's like, look, the incentive to incriminate is really, really powerful. This would be a good opportunity for people who, like us, who, are way behind, because there were people who started at like floor 200. So this is a big opportunity here. The good Dekii says to Iroha, kind of like reading his mind, like, oh, it'd be elementary if I just reset after I'm put into custody. But yeah, you don't have that option. You have to stay under house arrest in this situation. You can't even escape the simulation while you're doing it. And Iroha realized, like, oh man, that's bad. Just like having like that kind of sensory feedback loop for that amount of time, that'd like really fuck with you to have to go through that. So, and Ensa's like, yeah, and like, sitting around for 12 hours would also put a huge gap between our groups. The people who are ahead of us are going to get further ahead of us, and we're not going to have as much of a chance to catch up. But Oboro's like, on the other hand, if you skip a bunch of floors, it's a good chance to catch up with them. It's a chance to catch up with Toshisai. Observation team makes some, peanut gallery comments about it, but honestly, I don't think they say anything important, so I'm going to skip it. But then we get a flashback to, a conversation that Ensa and Iroha had with Oboro. I can't remember her name because she hasn't shown up in a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, this has not been a relevant character for quite some time.
She's only really being brought up here because of that relation to Oboro. And so Iroha, brought up to her, was like, how real is the private information that's listed here? And he shows her the character sheet that he got about her, because he was playing her in the murder mystery game. And so Oboro looks over and is like, well, I assume that all this was made up by Kagoe, excluding the fact that I was an ex-POW and escaped convict, and I'm currently a fugitive. That's true. And the other one also says, like, yeah, my info was different, but it is kind of similar. And she says she's got a bunch of bail and penalties that she's got to pay off, and that's what she would use the morgue for, basically. And they say, while striking a dorky pose together.
One in a series of really wild poses, this is one of the dorkiest ones.
It's crazy. Ubits, guys, it's right here, and I've already forgotten it. It's like Ubitsume. She says, living for a dream is super emo, but you should remember that there are also people like us who have no control over our own realities. It's like, yeah. It's nice that, it's like, you've got this big grand dream stuff. Some people are like, look, I got debt to pay off, man. I need this. So they're kind of like left to contemplate, like, look, Oprah's coming from a different place than we are. So what's she gonna do? And we get some flashbacks from Oprah's perspective right after she says, this isn't a choice. It's code murder. But, she just thinks about, like, a bunch of times that, like, she worked together with that group and all of its different members and stuff. And time's up for everyone. And they say, one person talked. Oboro was the one who talked. And so Oboro's handcuffs are taken off. She thinks to herself, it's nothing personal. And, but then the bad cop, Dekii, says, don't pretend like you're shocked. you must have known that this was going to happen. And Iroha says, yeah, I knew that this was going to happen. I didn't even need to see Obro's face. She confessed that she committed the crime all on her own.
Aww.
She sacrificed herself for it. And we get like a reminder of the XPOW thing, which is like, I spent a year in prison for a crime I didn't commit. And so she's just willing to put herself through that. And as a result of taking the penalty, her sentence is 72 hours, which is... Try spending 2.5 days doing one thing, guys.
It's gonna be mind crushing to do that. But I do like that very specifically the motivation becomes, if we cleared the dungeon though in that time, then Obro gets out.
Yeah, so Ensa and Iroha are allowed to progress ahead. Not only that, but because of Obro's sacrifice, they're allowed to skip the next 60 floors. So it's 120 floors for one person, but instead it's reversed and split between the two of them. And then they say, like, yeah, look, if we can clear the dungeon in less time, then we'll get Obro-san freed from that, and it'll be okay. And so the two of them rush on ahead after going through an elevator, and they've got the spirits of Obro and Ubutsume behind them. It's like, aw.
It's so cute until you're like, I mean, Umitsubame didn't do anything.
I'm not actually here.
She's not here.
I'm fine.
My will travels with you. Who are you?
Yeah, remember the sacrifice we made?
Yeah, this was like a joint thing. In a way, we're both suffering through 72 hours in prison, except that I'm not. I'm at home. I'm probably chilling right now. I'm actually having a great time. But Obro, it sounds like things are pretty rough for.
They're all holding hands, though. It's very cute, and it's just a nice little reminder of like, oh yeah, this was like the first like actual alliance in the show. Now that we've got all this team stuff going on, it was just nice to have a little reminder of that.
Yep, it's good stuff, fun, little prisoner dilemma stuff. But Nick, you know what I really love?
Oh man,
my greens.
It's gonna be an easy title to remember. I'll give it that much.
It's my favorite level in Kirby.
Okay, yeah, it's a new series. Tee Off is the chapter 1 title, and it's a golf manga, guys. And we get a brief shot of a Japanese player Hakuye Saki rising to the challenge in the Masters tournament. What? Well, before we get to that, we have to see something from way long ago before this, presumably. I assume that he didn't like just turn around and like join his Masters tournament within like 2 weeks or something like that. I hope not. We start off with Haku, who is a second year in high school, and he's just hanging out with some friends like while they're like attending swimming class. And he talks about, hey, did you know that like Floyd Mayweather earns 96 million yen every time he throws a punch? And like, wow, man, it'd be great to get rich. Yeah. And so they're talking about stuff. He's got a friend named Takato who's a big like baseball star at the school. And Haku's like, oh, you've got like a scout coming to check you out, right? You're so cool. And so they're talking about like sports and being good at sports and stuff. But as they're getting set to dive, he's talking about like, oh, if you be as good as Shinjiro Otani, you could earn like 400,000 yen a pitch. And as they're taking off into the water, someone comments, how stupid can you get? And Haku, like, for whatever reason, knows that they're talking about him. He reacts to it as they dive into the water. So he thinks to himself, like, look, there's always like someone like better than me, so it's not even worth really trying. Basically, that seems to be a big part of his attitude that is at the start of the story. We get a very obvious tell of who made the wry comment, because there's just a shot of a girl who has not spoken prior to this, who is to the side, like, I wonder who made the comment. Haku gets called to the faculty room along with a girl named Oga, who is said girl that we saw in the swim class. And so they're called off, and they're like, why are the two of them being called off together? And Haku's like, oh man, they found out about our secret romance. She does not think that that's funny. She's like, that's not funny. Fuck you. It's like, I'm just kidding. So the two of them have been called in because, hey, second time this week we're talking about career path questionnaires. Hey, isn't that a great thing? It's kids being interrogated about how they're going to spend the rest of their lives when they're 16 years old. Isn't it a wonderful bit of stress to induce on someone? Oh boy. But Haku just says like, yeah, I guess I'll just be like I'll just be a college student or something like that. He doesn't really know what he wants to do. He's like, yeah, I'll just be a student or whatever. So, you know, the counselor that was called him in is like, I mean, are you sure about this? I mean, because if you like apply, you could get into like a really good college. And you could, you know, do something you really want to do. And Haku just says, I'm fine with just taking it easy. Bye. Meanwhile, Oga, who's been called in, is like, no, I know what I want to do. She's talking to a different counselor. And she says, are you sure you want to do that? And she's like, look, are you saying I should be more prepared to compromise, you know, on my life? And she's really intense about it. And Haku sticks around while he's overhearing this and sees that she is really dead set on going to the United States. And when he sees this, he like makes a comment like, "Oh, howdy!" Just like, shut up, just like him. So then Haku goes and hangs out with his friends. Some he's with like a small group of them, but two of them split off because like when it was like, oh, I've got to go and do stuff. I've got to go study for this thing. I've got to go work on that thing. So it's just left between Haku and the friend that he was racing with before, the baseball club ace, Takato. So they go to a restaurant together. They're hanging out a bit. And Haku just says like, hey, when you become a big superstar, I'm going to be so proud of you. I'll tell everyone like, yeah, that guy is my best friend. He's so good. And Takato's like, you're the reason like I started playing. Because, we used to, play together all the time. We would play until it got really late. And you had a real good arm. You were probably better than me. And Haku's like, nah, it's not true. He just kind of like mumbles off and rejects that. And so they part ways, go home for the night. And he thinks to himself, like, everyone's like finding out what they want to do. Everyone's growing up. But he's like, I don't really want to do anything. I'm just like, okay with taking it easy. And everyone else has all this motivation going on. Then he spots. It's funny because, like, usually in stories like this, there is a bully, but in this case, it's someone who wants to sue the high school student who definitely has lots of money. Oh, you scuffed up my car. No, I clearly did not. I did not do that. The height of the scratch is different from the height I carry my bags at, and I had the cloth end facing the road. That is not caused by me. You're definitely lying. Oh, how dare you lie to me? I'm an adult. I will assault you in public. So it's Oga, and she's carried a bag with her, and is accused of this. Haku gets in the way to protect her from the slap. With his face. What a hero. He takes the slap instead.
Yeah.
And so the woman leaves them alone. And then afterwards, like, Oga's like, all right, and, kind of like bandages him up and it's like, yeah, okay. Then they kind of like, we peel back because basically she just took him where she was going anyway, which was a driving range for golf. And he was like, oh, you play golf? Isn't golf like an old person game or something? It's kind of weird for a kid to have it as a hobby. And Oga says it's not a hobby. She's obviously very serious about this. So she's like, look, thanks. Take care of yourself on your way home. But Haku's like, can I watch you practice? No. She just does not want anything to do with it.
Like, no, go away. This is like my peace time. Don't be weird.
This is not a meet cute. Go away.
He's like, kind of felt like a meet cute.
So he's just, hangs back, and watches practice. She goes and gets changed into her special golf clothes. And he wonders like, oh, I wonder how far she can like actually like hit it. And he watches, some old guy next to her. Like, oh, he got the ball to a 220-yard marker. That's great. I bet a girl like her won't even make it to the back net.
Wham!
And it's a very there's a lot of really nice motion in the artwork, showing the golf club moving in this big swift arc. And Oga's kind of like disappointed in herself when she only hits the 240-yard mark. So clearly better than the guy, but that's kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So Haku says, "Are you trying to be a pro golfer?" And Oga's like, "Why do you ask me?" And he says, "Well, the way you hit the ball is like different. It flew really far. And like, I don't know a lot about golf, but I can tell, like, you've got a beautiful swing." And it was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to be a pro." "Oh, is that why you want to go to America?" "Shut the fuck up. Don't talk about, you don't know anything about my life. Shut the fuck up." So Haku kind of goes into the same mode that he does with Takato, being like, "Oh, I'm rooting for you. Well, I hope you become the next Tiger Woods. Everyone is gonna know your name. I heard that when Tiger Woods golf clubs were auctioned off, they sold for 650 million yen. I wonder if your clubs would be just as valuable." And Oga just kind of stares at him, and she holds the golf club out to him and says, "You want to try? Why don't you give it a shot?" "Oh, I couldn't do it."
Does it with such intensity. She's like, "No, do it. It might end up being worth 600 million."
And so, of course, he takes a swing, can't even hit the ball. He's not holding his body in the right positions, and so he's like, "Oh, I guess I missed. Do it again. Do it again." And so he goes for the ball, and he can't hit it. He's like, why can't I hit it?" And eventually, he manages to knock the ball, like, I don't know, 10 yards.
Yeah.
He manages to knock it off the tee. It's like, "Aha! I hit it." Was that easy? It took you 7 tries to just graze the ball. You claim Tiger Woods clubs were valuable because they'd been used. You don't understand the effort and the devotion that went into them. His 8 irons grooves were completely worn out. That is why they're priceless to his fans.
And if there's anything you could say about Tiger Woods, Nick, devoted.
Devoted.
In every aspect of his life, devotion is what drives him.
Yeah, when I think of Tiger and devotion and driving, this is what I think about. But she just ethers this kid. Just goes in on him hard.
Yeah.
She is a sniper who has been studying her target. And she says, "You just say stuff like, I wish I could do that, but you don't understand what other people's abilities actually are compared to your own. Your only way of measuring things is to equate them to money. That guy's awesome. That guy's a genius. You don't understand why people are incredible. You're just jealous of how good they are at stuff. And because you have nothing to offer, you revel in other people's accomplishments so you can feel like you're somebody special. I hate you."
Jesus.
Just the hardest I have seen someone go on someone else in a long time. And Haku's like on the verge of tears, it seems like, for a second, and then she's like, "All right, I'm going home," and just leaves him to practice alone.
I'll catch you later.
Bye.
See you at school tomorrow.
Oh God, we share a class together. I'm gonna run into you routinely from now on. But he's obviously bothered by this afterwards. And he's like, "What the hell? Why did she say that? Just because I couldn't hit the fucking ball right?" His little siblings come in and are like, "Hey, you should play with us. You should tell us something cool." And Haku's like, "All right. Well, my friend Yuya's making a game. Takato's getting scouted." And then he realizes, I only ever talk about other people. Oga's right. I don't have anything else to offer about myself. And so he sits up and he says, "I want to talk about me. So wait right here and we'll talk later." And he just rushes off. And he heads back to the driving range. And he's like, "Okay, golf's not like a super popular thing, so I'll practice, and this will be something I can tell people about myself that I do then.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, so I'll do this like after I hit 100 balls, I'm sure they'll be hitting them consistently. Oh God, this is so harsh. Immediate cuts. He did hit the ball 100 times, and they were all bad. He has no idea what he's doing. So he looks at the club and he's like, "Is this thing just busted?" And then he realizes, like, no, I haven't really hit the ball properly. And he looks at the grooves on how there's scuff marks kind of like all over the place, not focused in any one place, and realizes, like, oh, the grooves on Tiger Woods clubs were completely worn out because he hit them in the same spot over and over and over again consistently. So he just holds the club up and goes, "Tiger Woods is amazing!" And Oga's suddenly right next to him. She's like, "Shut up. Stop making noise." And she explains, "Yeah, I work here part-time because then I get to use the range for free." Pretty good deal for her. Haku realizes that she was watching him play, and she's like, "Yeah, I was watching you. You weren't really hitting the ball, though. So look, I'll teach you." And she, kind of like pushes him into the right position, manipulates him a little bit by like, tucking his shoulder just down a little bit. Obviously, it gets him kind of flustered, but honestly, she's touching him very clinically and like trainery, like, so it's fine. And he realizes immediately, like, oh, my posture's like better. And so he goes to swing the club and he knocks it quite far. It doesn't like hit the wall this time, but it's definitely way better than he's been doing it before. And Oga's like, look, you've still got a ways to go, because like you've got great height. You could hit the ball like triple the distance you just did. But he keeps on practicing, and now he's got the tip from her, and he's really hitting it way better. And he's like, I'm doing it. And eventually Oga catches his attention and distracts him and is like, hey, look, I went too far earlier. I'm sorry. And she bows to him in apology. But Haku says, look, it's okay. It was the truth. And Oga's like, all right, well, I still don't like you. It's just unforgiving. But she says, look, you'll get better. Golf is a sport that rewards hard work. So Haku's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to pull a real Tiger Woods. I mean, I'll show you something amazing at my amateur level. So baby steps. And eventually he hits the ball and he hits the sweet spot. And we get this 2-page spread of just him knocking the ball forward. And Hyaku remembers the words that he narrated at the beginning of this chapter, which are like, look, no matter how hard you try, there's always someone better than you. What's the point of doing anything? And despite that, right now, I wonder why I feel so happy. And he's able to hit the net in the back of the course and the back of the driving range. He's like, oh my God, I did it. Hey, Oga, did you see that? She's gone. She's not there to witness this moment of triumph. He's like, ah, damn it. But he looks around and spots an older guy driving the ball, and he hits it in like the same place that Haku did, and he's like, that's not good, not awful. And Haku realizes, like, oh yeah, this is just like normal for everyone here. Okay, yeah, what am I getting all excited about? Okay, better go home. And he does pass Oga on the way out. And just like, oh yeah, I'm satisfied. I mean, look, I think it was a fluke, but yeah, I got a good hit in this time. And Oga's like, all right, fine then. And she takes his hand and looks at it and just shows him like all the calluses he has on his hand, because he hit the ball over 100 times and he hasn't been wearing gloves this whole time. And then she, wow, right on the sore hand, like, why did you do that? But it's because she's put a package of golf gloves in his hand. And she says, there are no lucky punches in golf. There are no fluke hits. Wear that next time. And he's like, what do you mean next time? And she looks over her shoulder at him and says, that was a good shot. Aw, she was watching. Yeah. Aw. So he takes his leave, and she walks over to where he was practicing and realizes he was practicing with an 8-iron. He hit the ball 180 yards with an 8-iron. I don't believe it. And she whacks a ball in the driving range with the 8-iron, and she's like, I managed 145 yards, which would be pretty respectable for a male golfer. And this guy has never played before, and he hit the ball 180 yards with this. What is it, natural ability, or no? Obviously, he just happened to hit it perfectly. He just happened to have the right build, the right strength. He just happened to demonstrate 150% of his potential in a fluke. Yeah, I don't believe it either.
Yeah.
So she has realized something about him, and now Haku is like just at home. He's chilling at the bath, and he's like, golf. So a long time ago, Quinn.
Yep.
A long time ago now. We read the first few chapters of a series called Robot Laserbeam.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, you cannot make golf interesting.
We said to ourselves, this author will never have a hit series in Jump again.
I was wrong.
Uh-huh.
This was absurdly good.
I like this chapter
was
a lot.
Great. I don't know if this is going to be like a good or long-running series, but this is a fantastic start.
I like this lead a lot. Because of all the reasons he gets dressed down for in the chapter itself, but like I think those things do help to make protagonists stand out. Sometimes we just talked about when we did Yu Yu Hakusho, we were talking about like, oh, Yusuke kind of stands out because like he's kind of an asshole, and like we don't get that. And I do like that this guy's just like busy thinking about greatness. He's like, oh man, I would be cool to like make $1 billion, and
but that's never gonna happen.
Yeah, and then he gets called to the office with this girl, and he's like, uh-oh, they found out of our love affair. It's like, I don't know, he's just kind of like he has a charisma to him. I don't know if it's the best kind, but like he has some kind of personality. And then it's fun seeing him bounce off this girl who just so transparently is like, fuck you, I fucking hate you, and every fucking stupid thought you said. So I really appreciated how they bounced off of each other in this chapter. The action, as you said, was really good. Like they managed to make golf swings look really, really good. And it was just fun in a way. Like I like the payoffs. I like the setup that we got earlier in the chapter when he's talking to his baseball friend, and his friend's like, you have a better arm than I do. And you're like, maybe that's why he's so good at this golf swing. But it'll be curious to see, like, well, if he was so good at baseball, why did he stop?
Yeah, was there some sort of event that, where he maybe wasn't really enthusiastic about athletics and sports and stuff, and then he was like, oh, you lost really bad one time and decided it's not worth trying to keep up with this. Yeah. But it's just a nice, self-contained story here of a guy who's got no motivation, deciding he wants to have something that he can be proud of, and finally being willing to put in the hard work to try and achieve something, even if it's just a small triumph. All he wanted to do was just like, I just want to have one good hit on this. And he put in the effort to make it happen. And as a result of that, I really do like that there are baby steps that happen in the relationship between him and Oga, where she's like, yeah, all right, well, you came in and you really tried for that. And she respects that. And she starts to be nicer towards him and is like, look, I went too far and everything. It's a nice way of like having a very developed relationship all in one little story. It's really satisfying to read.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing more.
Yeah, I was not, I didn't have too many super high expectations for this, but this one definitely was very pleasant and enjoyable to read. So yeah, looking forward to some more. But I think we have to talk about Kagurabachi. I'm going to step away for a second.
Speaking of pleasant to read, Quinn, it's chapter 11, Awaken. So Chihiro wakes up in bed, realizes that Char has been taken and he failed to save her. Mr. Shiba and their cop friend come in and are like, he's reborn! Go back to sleep right now! For some reason, I don't know why. I don't know why he says that. But they kind of break it down. It's like, okay, look, we didn't want you to be taken to the nearby hospital you're in a public hospital, you could go to a different hospital, but we don't want your lineage showing up in the records because the Kaminabi hospital, the police force hospital. So he's like, we could have taken you there, but there are members of the Kaminabi who don't think highly of Rokuhira. Okay. So then he wants to know about Char and about Hinao. Hinao, of course, we were left to think that maybe he had just like died because she was with Char at the moment that Char was kidnapped. But it's established that Hinao's alive and is doing pretty okay. Because like even like she visited her before and gave her some apples and stuff, and she didn't like them, which I appreciate because I don't like Shiba either. So yeah, they break down like, okay, so regarding Soja's objective, here's what I got out of Cylinder Head. He had a name. He's dead now, and it's your fault. So they say Sojo has some Daten Seki. That's what we need. More terminology to overwhelm us with. Daten Seki. You know what that is, right, Chihiro? Yes, the Enchanted Blade source material. A unique ore that was discovered during the war. Only 250 kilos of it are currently known to exist. And then we cut away from there to get the rest of the conversation from Sojo and company. And Sojo's like, the spirit energy imbued in the stone multiplies. It becomes something so concentrated it wouldn't be possible to contain in a human body. It's the same as the enchanted blades. But the power of the Daten Seki is toxic. When spirit energy pours into it, the condensed spirit energy streams into the person's body. Unable to contain the energy, the body bursts and they die. But Kurishige Rokuhira was the only person to ever succeed in stabilizing that power, the only one able to work with it. And now they're going to try and do something with it, and they need Char's body to do it. Literally, they're chopping and scraping off bits of her flesh in order to use in experiments. Yay! 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 So Chihiro's, I believe that everyone like kind of suspects this is the case, and they tell Chihiro, and he's like, "God damn it, I didn't save her. This sucks." So he wants to know where his sword is, so he can go off and be a sword guy. And so they're like, "Look, the Kabanabi and stuff," and she was like, "No, let's not overwhelm him." And Chihiro's like, "Shut up, tell me the plot." And so Azuma is like, "Well, the Kabanabi are gonna speed up our plan to defeat Sojo." So is the infiltration thing just being immediately adjusted after we introduced it like 3 chapters ago? Okay. So he says, I want you to meet some of the Kaminabi that are going to work in this operation. And I understand your hesitation, but trust me. And she was like, they all work directly for Azami, Chihiro, so they're good. So I was like, fine. And we're introduced to a whole bunch of new characters. And there is Mask Guy, other Mask Guy, Glasses Guy, Ponytail Girl?
Yeah.
And the other one.
And what the one who's mean.
He goes, chick a lot. And Mask Guy is a real wild one. He's making a lot of noise, and he's being restrained by Glasses Guy. And they're like, we're in a hospital. And the other Mask Guy is like, we're in a hospital. Yes. So, yeah, they say that they've investigated the site that Sojo's goon, he had a name, told you about, and it was empty. So we're conducting a new search. And we're going to move in on it when we find it. In the meantime, we need info from you to develop our strategy. And Chihiro's like, all right, fine, but let me join the operation. And the mean guy is like, no! And other mask guy says, excuse him, he's new. He acts like a jerk when he sees a youngster with potential. It's very specific.
Yeah, I was like, what a very specific character trait to have.
Yes. And he points out that, hey, Chihiro did, help make sure that Sojo didn't kill all the bystanders during their fight. And Ponytail Girl's like, what? That happened? And Glass Guy's like, yes. Okay. So yeah, Chihiro explains how we did it. Then they're like, "Wow, that sure is cool." And she was like, "Yeah, but you're really heavily wounded. The muscles of your left arm are shredded. You won't be useful for another month." Okay. But then they're like, "Yeah, we started searching for his base 5 days ago when you collapsed." And Chihiro's like, "Wait, I've been out for 5 days? Oh no, Char's been suffering this whole time. I've got to come with you, definitely." And Glass Guy's like, "Well, unfortunately, our mission is to kill Sojo, and saving that kid isn't part of our assignment. I love the police, so." So he's like, "From what I gather, you're a hothead with a cool facade. So even if we told you to stay put, you'd probably sneak off anyway. Leaving you alone is probably the most dangerous thing we can do. So we'll kill Sojo, and you can covertly rescue the kid." "It's a flawless plan," he says.
Uh-huh.
And,
Well, I do like that he's immediately corrected by his one teammate.
it's
He's
not.
like, "No, this is a very
flawless.
half-baked plan."
So, it is in a very bizarre moment. Glasses Guy's like, "Oh, are you in?" And Chihiro has to like think about it. When he had been insisting on coming along with them on the operation before. So I know it's supposed to be dramatic because like he thinks about how much Char is suffering and stuff. He's like, "I'm in," and it's like, yes, obviously you're in. You just asked if you could be in before he told you the conditions before you being in. Like,
yeah, you just said like, "I'm definitely coming." So yeah, it is like,
well, hold on, I've got some conditions. We'll do what we're gonna do, and you'll get to do what you want to do.
hold on.
You drive a hard bargain, but
Let me
it's okay.
let me consider if this lines up with my goals. Yeah, I think I'll do it. It's just like, hey, dog, I understand you want like a dramatic way to end it, but yeah, I don't know why they put that pause in there. It seems very silly.
Yep. This was a pretty nothing chapter, honestly. It's kind of like a necessary chapter if it was like, oh, Chihiro's got a plan now, and he's coming back from injury and stuff, and he's gonna go save the girl. But whatever.
Yeah, it was fine. I don't know. I'm not like a huge fan of like being introduced to 5 new characters and be like, all of these are important. And I'm like, I don't even know the one dude from this organization that is supposed to be important. Like all of 5 of you characters just feel like fodder at this point. That's kind of how you were treated by Sojo in the other chapter. He was like, I think I could kill all 5 of these people if I needed to. It's those 2 up there that are making me feel like I need to do a tactical retreat. So
yes,
I don't really know how to feel about all of this, but I guess there's another female character in this series. That's fine. That's, something. Let's see if she gets killed first.
They wouldn't put another victim female character in the series, Quinn. Come on.
That'd be ridiculous. Now, Nick, let's talk about Nue Sexorcist.
I'm sure the 4th one will do something besides be chased and stabbed.
She's like, oh no, I forgot my sword and my sorcery powers at home. Ah!
My sorcery powers at home.
Let's talk about Nue Sexorcist, Nick, because we didn't talk about it last week, and people were like hungry to know our thoughts on Suo's character developments.
Fortunately, we're just given a recap of the last chapter at the beginning of this one. It's very simple and straightforward. Yeah, it's chapter 28, the new squad member. So we open the chapter with Nue just telling like all the students who were brought in, like, goodbye, thanks for participating. And they're like, I guess we never learned about the actual house sharing situation, huh? All right. And then we are told, last time, the newly transferred squad member refused to show themselves. Thus, we conducted a plan to lure them out, and it worked magnificently, so here we are.
Oh, man, I want this person to narrate my life.
For those of you who have never watched Rocky and Bullwinkle, that was what happened every episode.
I was well aware of that voice. I was like, ooh, are we going to get some Tom Slick after this?
No, but we will do Tennessee Tuxedo.
Oh, I love that one. Some Secret Squirrel, maybe?
I don't think that was the same show.
I thought it was. I thought it was all the same one.
I don't think so.
I thought
that's a different era.
Maybe that was George of the Jungle and Secret Squirrel.
I never watched George of the Jungle, so you might be right.
Yeah.
So, anywho, So the new club member, they were able to actually like find them, and of course Nue does whatever she does whenever a new character enters the club room. She ties them up so they can't get away or do anything. So the passed out new club member comes around and goes, "Where am I?" So you got me. And so Nue, for whatever reason, instructs Gakuro to take off this girl's hood. And she's like, I'd rather not have him touch me. Could someone else please do it? And Nue goes, Gakuro, take off her hood. So Gakuro takes off her hood and goes, is that you? Chitotsu? What? He knows her. What? And immediately so goes, wait, who is this? And Gakuro goes, my sister! But we've been separated! And we literally get people going, what?
I really waited for somebody to be like, but are you related by blood? Because this determines how hot this situation is now.
Our talking about this series, if this series weren't already garbage and I thought nothing of it, our conversation about the series would have ruined this scene for me because I immediately did go in my head, is she related by blood?
The best part is later on they're like, no. She's not.
The entire time I was like, oh, I gotta come in on this and be like, oh, she's your sister who's related to you by blood? That's disgusting, Gakuro. Get her out of here right now.
Everyone's like, oh, this is Gakuro's sister. Related by blood.
Like
there's a moment everyone's like, oh, wow. Brat.
Fuck.
And then later on, they're like, actually, she's adopted. She's adopted. So you're telling me there's a chance?
You son of a bitch, Gakuro! Don't do that to me. So they leave Shitotsu tied up because Nue's an awful host. And she's like, yeah, I'm the new squad member who's been transferred here. To everyone here besides the captain, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
No, Nick, it's like a Basic Instinct where Sharon Stone was being interrogated, but she was actually the one in power. It's the same thing here. She's tied up, but she's the one controlling this situation. It's to show how powerful she is.
Oh my god. So they're like, okay. Suo Umi is like, this might be a bit of a problem, and Shitotsu's like, no, if you want me to do something, just say the word. And Gakuro's like, but before that, could you apologize to Suo Senpai for the position you put her in? And the chair disappears for Shitotsu to kick him. Like, it's very weird. It's not just that, like, her cloak is hiding it, because the cloak is like draped over the chair, but like the legs of the chair disappear too when she kicks him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there is no chair, Nick. I can't believe you're just getting this lesson now. There is no chair. This is a mental test.
There's a chair in the other panel.
The series has always been Nue Sexorcist, Nick, and there's never been a chair.
There is no other way of pronouncing that title. Come on. So she just like, I was going to apologize to her after you go away. Gakuro, Gakuro is going to red pill people, because even I'm looking at him being like, what a beta asshole, because Shitotsu's like, I'll apologize to you after you leave, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll go then.
Catch y'all later.
Oh god. So seeing the two of them interact that way, like, Suo is like, I mean, I guess they do act like siblings, don't they, huh? So Shitotsu is like, all right, well, let's start over. Wait, Gakuro, you're still here? You stupid liar!
I do love that moment where she just calls him a stupid liar.
It's like, she told him that she wanted him to go away, and he was like, guess I'll leave. And then he's like, no, read the room, you idiot. Wait, what are you still doing here? God. So then Nue's like, can't you just, like, get along with him, even if it's just in practice? From the way you talk, I can tell you're pretty capable. It's like, what, like an asshole? Okay. So Shitotsu's like, oh, thank you for the compliment. But look, after our father's death, this guy just has lived his life in a carefree manner. Him becoming a captain makes me sick to my stomach. Serving as subordinate, out of the question. If he's supposed to be in charge of the squadron relay orders, I won't obey. Ever. And so Nue's like, all right, time for me to solve things the way I always do.
Bratonly deciding things.
You two are gonna stay in this room together until you get along with each other. And they're just abandoning the room together.
It's not even something funny, like, oh, you both have to wear the sibling sweater or whatever, like, where they're both stuck in the same sweater or whatever. Like, something that you're like, oh, like, this has, it's just like, you're locked in the same room, and the reason is because we have a magic portal that everyone has to be drift compatible for some reason.
Yeah,
for it to work.
They can't. She can't just say that she'll get along. They have to literally prove they can get along, like personality wise, because the thing they want to do won't work otherwise. Blah blah blah. So, Shitatsu is really upset about this. They're locked in a room together. Also, I think that they're forced to power down because Nue's broken like that. So they can't get out. The door is completely locked behind them. And so Shitatsu's like, all right, I get it. So you asked me if I get along with him, even if it was for just in practice and stuff. And so they're like, look, can you do it? Because like the others can. And so they're stuck in this position. And Nue's like, come on, bridge the gap, Gakuro. And Gakuro's like, I don't know what to talk about.
Oh God.
We haven't seen each other in 7 years.
What?
I'm scared.
What about that weather, sis?
Who said you could call me that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I approached too far. I'll leave. All right, the door.
The weather's the same way as when our dad died, Gakuro. Fuck you.
Gakuro pulls at his list of topics, crosses out dad on the list.
Oh, this is gonna be really hard for me.
There's just a bunch of question marks afterwards. Like,
remember when our dad died?
He just gives up. He's like, so, have you spoke to dad recently?
Sorry, I just looked up a bunch of dad-related questions on the internet. What do you want to get dad for Father's Day?
I typed in icebreakers and got the gum, so I gave up and logged off of the internet forever.
I feel like Shitatsu also like can't help but talk about her dead dad though. Oh man, this cool part reminds me when my dad died.
Do all of your friends think it's really hot that we're not related by blood?
Oh my god. So Gakuro, I mean, like, it's been half their lives since they've seen each other. So Gakuro's like, I don't really even remember what kind of person she is. She was just kind of like a tough person, and she's stronger and smarter than me. And also, the reason we were separated was because of Dad's death.
Yeah, they don't say it, but you know,
yeah,
we can read between the lines. We're talented interpreters.
Yeah. Eventually, she breaks the silence and is like, why'd you become a captain? And Gakuro is like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to talk. Yeah, 4 days ago, knew I did this and nominated me for the position. And Shitatsu's like, all right, well, why didn't you run away? You're good at that. Ouch. And Gakuro says, oh, Nue saved my life. And from then, I felt like I had to change. She pushed me to be this far, and now here I am. And Just is like, oh, wow. So, if Nue told you to quit being a captain, you'd also quit? No! There's someone who's trying to escape from a certain place whom I want to protect. Just is like, oh, okay. How have you been? No transition whatsoever. And immediately she just shuts up and is like, well, no! I was talking about me! That was really hard! Oh, tell me something! And just like, this sucks. You're so annoying. I just told you to talk to me. It's like, yeah, she told me to talk to you, yes? And she says, all right, you want to know how I've been doing? Yeah, it was the worst. That's it. Hey guys, how you doing in there? You getting along? You kill each other yet? We place bets.
Can we go through the teleporter yet? Did you fix all of your problems?
We left you in here for like 10 minutes. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
How much longer do you need to be drift compatible? What the fuck?
Suo has brought
We downloaded Pacific Rim onto both of your phones.
You're supposed to sync it up.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
You,
it be like...
you gave me 2!
So yeah, they brought food for like a welcome party and stuff, and then Shitotsu's like, yeah, we should talk with everybody else around and stuff. And immediately Gakuro's like, oh no, she's joined my group of friends. I can't intrude on it now. God, I have no social skills. No matter what I do, I'll just ruin the atmosphere by butting in. And so eventually Shiroha looks around and is just like, hey, why do you dislike Yajima? I can read people's emotions via their scent, and I can tell that like you're serious. Like you do not like him. You can't forgive him. But I can also tell that those emotions are not stemming from hatred. And she is giving an answer of like, look, can you just hold on for a second? Just hold on. And Trio's like, sorry. No, it's fine. Okay, then tell us what's going on. I don't think there's going to be a problem if you just, like, tell him what's going on. Bye. Okay, so that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see on the phone, Nue is talking with the captain who sent Shitatsu to join their squad. And says like, yeah, turns out Shitatsu and Gakuro were siblings. Do you have some kind of ulterior motive in mind? And the captain's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, wouldn't it be in your records? Has the Exorcist Bureau been taking care of this town's operation? And she's like, no, I've been busy. I've been leaving the vice captain to handle things. And the vice captain's like, turns out he's former Captain Yajima's son.
It is legitimately kind of a funny chapter, because she's like, I don't know. I leave this all to my vice captain. If there's anything important, he'd tell me. And then he just walks up. He's like, hey, it turns out Yakuro's the former captain's son. And you're like, it's funny in the moment, but it is frustrating that you're like, this is the way the series deals with its character writing, is just like, I don't know, what if everyone was kind of stupid and worthless?
Yeah, she wasn't just playing coy. She did, in fact, not know. Because she hadn't been told yet. So, yeah, apparently, like, he is the late Captain Yajima's son. So they're like, oh, so he's Takuro's kid, huh? Father and son. Chosen as captains under special circumstances. That's crazy. And Gakuro's old man Takuro, he was my master. And he starts as the captain, and Nue goes, whoa! And then we are given the very, very, very sun bit of information. I didn't even know he was married, since I heard Chitotsu was adopted.
Nue goes, hot.
Yes! I am going to lock them in there for so long now.
Time to let the whole school know.
This is great because I was afraid that Shiroha and Gakuro were getting a little bit too close to each other. Now I could just like have another wheel on this.
Yeah, next chapter, Zeno's going to have a panel where he's super up close to Gakuro's face. You have another hot sister who's not related by blood?
Nue asks for more information, and she is told he wasn't particularly strong or particularly smart. His leadership didn't stand out. It's kind of ugly. Didn't like him. What a douchebag. He cheated me out of all of my money.
Couldn't cook. Not a particularly good driver. Terrible at making small talk.
But he was, without a doubt, the best captain. Oh man, I can't believe that Gakuro's dad is Ishin, the former captain of the 10th Squad.
Nick, how could you? This is completely different. This is an entirely different thing. See, like, when in Bleach, it was revealed it was, like, a huge deal. Here, who gives a shit? He's already dead. I've never seen him. I've seen him in, like, a panel be like, my son, I'm dead.
I can't believe that Gakuro's dad was Minato, the 4th Hokage.
Yeah, this is much closer to that, where you're like, I guess we'll retroactively add a relationship here. But this guy is probably not going to be even as interesting as Minato was. So, Um, yeah, this is a dumb, bad series.
God. Just everything about this chapter is like, hey, look, Gakura's got a sister. Oh, does she care for him? No. She hates his guts along with everyone else who meets Gakura for the first time.
It's kind of satisfying to have a character who hates Kakro as much as we, the audience, do, but it only works as for so long as she does do that, which I feel like is this chapter and maybe next chapter, and then he's gonna like, I don't know, he's gonna block a monster attack or some shit from getting to her, and she's gonna be like, well, you know what? Maybe he's not so bad after all, and she just becomes the tsundere character or whatever.
He's gonna practice hitting a golf ball a whole bunch of times, and then oh man, God! All right, Two on Ice, Chapter 10. And we don't get the chapter title because it's revealed later on. So we of course know that two roads have diverged in the wood. One of them goes to singles, one of them goes to pairs, and Hayuma's got a big decision to make, and it doesn't seem as clear as it used to be because he realizes, like, hey, if I ever were to catch up to Kisara, which I probably will eventually, there's this whole path that's open for me. Natsuya gives him like his scores and everything. Kind of breaks down like, yeah, you lost some easy points. There's room for improvement and stuff. But hey, these guys were all you playing ranked 6 out of 12 skaters, and all of them were like college students, including national competitors. So this was way more than enough. You did a good job. You've got the talent to be a single skater. So then Minakoshi is addressed by Roland Fujiwara, who is like, "Oh yeah, I know Natsuya here and stuff." They're kind of like catching up with each other. And he's like, "Yeah, I was surprised, but you were really good." He's just like a really nice guy, for this person who has just been set up as like, oh, the goal for Hayuma in singles games. Like, he's just a nice guy who's just like, "Oh yeah, you were really good. I was impressed by you because you're so young and stuff." And he also stabs like, "I've got a long ways to go because Taka keeps showing me up." No real further discussion of that point, though. But remember, Roland is second ranked nationally, so
and it's tough because that guy is the son of the most prestigious baseball player in all of Japan, and it's really hard. He could jump really high, so it's hard to intercept any of his passes.
Oh man! All right,
that was a joke mostly for Nick.
It was a target, an audience of one for that one. So, and the Roland even like extends a hand for Hayuma. He's like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to our next competition." And Hayuma kind of looks at his jacket and sees like, "Oh, Japan on his national competition level kind of stuff." And he's kind of like caught staring at that point. But then Roland kind of gets, Natsu calls his attention over. He's like, "Yeah, we might be taking a trip to Nagoya and stuff." And Hayuma's left to contemplate his decision, and he realized, like, look, I did land that triple axel. I've got this opportunity. There's an opportunity for me to take on Roland to go for number one. I could chase after him. And then we cut over to Kisara at that point, and she's like practicing. She's like, "I understand. I'll cheer you on." She's like waiting for Hayuma to come with the answer of like, "I'm going to go off on my own," which is really sad because it's like she's been through this before, basically. And so she's like just practicing to be like the good friend and partner, essentially. But Hayuma comes to her and it's like, "Look, I've made a decision." And at first, yeah, I wanted to be in a pair so that I could skate with the girl that I looked up to. And when I entered the singles competition, I understood the person I'm looking up to in the future might not be that girl. It could be Roland. It could be another skater. And I got to talk to Roland after the performance. He seems like a really nice guy. And I realized I was next to these amazing people like him. There's a path that would allow me to pursue them. And that meant I would have to replace that girl with someone else to look up to. I could put in the work for singles. That used to be what was driving me. Then I realized there was something off about that. And he realized during the competition that Kisara is not that girl that he has been setting his sights on. He realized there are athletes more amazing than her. And it was kind of painful for him to admit that. But today, compared to when I chased after you because I looked up to you, I felt like I really faced you, Kisara. And he realizes, I think since I've been alone until now, it's because she was the person who faced me back. And through all this, he's like, in the future, I want to spend my career facing someone. So if I do overtake you in the future, I'll match you the best I can on the path ahead. Instead of chasing someone alone, I'd like to walk the same path side by side. Will you form a pair with me, please? And Kisara is struck by this. She tears up and immediately has to like turn away and like hide her reaction. And he's like, "Did I just get rejected?" It's like, "No, you idiot."
It's actually a cute moment as she's like, oh, turns away. And he's like, oh shit, that didn't work out. But I wish the series had more cute moments like that.
Yeah, she manages to collect herself just enough that when she turns around, she's like, "You're so straightforward. It's shocking. I look forward to skating together with you again." And we get final chapter of the prologue, and the chapter title is "The Path." And we see that the two of them are walking on that pair's path together. I mean, look, the series is titled Two on Ice, so this was kind of the thing that had to happen. I thought that this chapter was very nice independently. It was nice to have this reframing of Hayuma's motivations and like him having this much deeper understanding of what he wanted to do than just, the childlike motivation from before of like, that guy's really cool, I want to be like them. It did take a long time to get to this point, it feels like, though.
Yeah, so a lot of people have brought up the fact that this is like around the same time ITLC was like, we are also now finished with telling our prologue. And I was like, well, that's not great because that's like half the series for you.
Yeah.
Who knows? Things are up in the air. I feel like it's going to be like a death battle, like a death race between Martial Master Asumi and Two on Ice to see which sports series can barely survive the next cancellation block, depending on how many series are in it. But I mean, this tells so it's always a weird thing to me though to do this prologue thing at chapter 10 because they're not going to put 10 chapters in a volume, especially with the first chapter, and I think it's usually like 9. So it sits weird when you're like, unless they force that in there and you get like an extra big one, which I don't know if they're going to do or not, but it's like weird. You're going to start volume 2 and then be like, prologue end, what the hell? But it's fine. Like, I get what they're going for. They wanted to show that he sees that there are other people out there that he wants to chase, but he has also realized he's incredibly lonely, and he's not interested as much in chasing people as he is in facing somebody else and finding the challenge in that, which I think is an intriguing way of doing this. We see a lot of shonen sports characters motivated entirely by rivalry and wanting to beat the person they're chasing after. But in a sport that is specifically a two-person cooperative sort of synchronization sport, it makes sense that his motivation would be completely different. He's not like worried about what the next pair is doing. He's worried about his particular relationship with Kisara.
Mm-hmm.
Kisara.
Yeah, same as the Taekwondo girl in Kenichi. Yeah.
Sure. I do know who you're talking about, just because she wore the jeans that were like the
Zack Ryder jeans.
Zack Ryder jeans, yeah.
Let's move on to the Elusive Samurai. It's chapter 135, Rations, 1338. The army of the Hojo is facing a problem. They're taking a really long time to move away from Kamakura. And they're running low on food because they're being slowed down by like these Ashikaga holdouts. They're barring their progress, and their food supplies are being targeted. So they've got all these vast quantities of rations that they need, and they're also very prime targets for attack. So Akie decrees that like, okay, look, I'm going to procure supplies locally, and he also says like everyone split up. and negotiate Hanzei, the procurement of military supplies. So Tokiyuki's group goes off and they meet with a guy who I'm not sure if his face is just naturally this way or if he squints so much that he forces his chin to go to that side of his face.
Yeah.
But anyway. So Shizuku makes the offer like, look, Lord Ikie will repay you handsomely after the war. If I've got a handling fee here and also a promissory note. And so the guy's like, considers it. And he's like, okay, look, if I do this, it harms the nobles in Kyo. I've got my rice already. I could take the money. And then he spots Sheena and he says, "Ha! I want the woman. And I'll unlock the storehouses if you give me a woman."
On one hand, Nick, you're like, this is crude. Obviously, we're thinking of different times that this is crude. But on the other hand, I too would like the robot woman. Which is how I had to assume this person would look at, like, I would like robot Wolverine.
It's not for sexual reasons. I just think that she's a cool cyborg.
I just think you would be a fun hang.
And Sheena is like okay with this. She's like just very like, yeah, I'm used to.
I get it.
Kind of thing. I get it.
You win some, you lose some.
Kojiro holds her back and is like, look, our group don't do that because Tokiyuki insists that we value ourselves, which is a thing that we have had to see before, of course, of like, he's had to tell troops, don't frickin' be suicidal. Try and survive the battle so you can fight for me again. Come on. So then instead the guy's like, oh, fine then. Price just went up 5 times. So if you want our rice, then pay. Immediately stabbed through the throat. Yeah, so it's the crazy bloodthirsty general, and he and his men just start fucking butchering everyone who's controlling the storehouse so that they can take all the food. And we get a little history lesson like, yeah, this happened. Like, armies are desperate for food. They would raid and stuff. But Tokiyuki is disgusted by all this. So Tokiyuki confronts Yuki Munehiro, and they're like, look, stop that. You're being a criminal. You're being a raider. Stop that. And he even like is holding his sword ready. And Munehiro says, you're a soft child. If you draw your sword on me, I will fight you. My soul is not pure like my son's. Because he's just like a murder guy, remember. He doesn't have any noble intentions behind murdering people. He'll just kill whoever. So Ayako and Kojiro are getting ready to fight as well if need be. But fortunately, God, what is their name? Nagao, I think it is. They step in order to help out Tokiyuki's group, and then more generals come in and break up the fight. And Morinao is brought before Akie to explain what he's done. And he's like, look, punish me if you wish, but I replenished our supplies. The men are overjoyed that this has happened. Now they can be useful to their commander. And after all, everyone knows why we left Oshu without proper supplies. It's because the Mikado repeatedly demanded the defeat of Takauji with haste. You must obey his commands, and we know that. And so we'll support you, but we'll do it however it takes. My group are barbarians. We will get our hands dirty for our lord. So Akie is at first taken aback by this, but then he says, all right, I'm going to confiscate a village in your territory, and you're going to have to make up for this in battle. But in the grand scheme of things, like, he's not removed from a position of command, and that's not a very high price to pay. He gets just kind of a slap on the wrist for this. And obviously Tokiyuki's not happy about this. He goes and he talks with the weird mustache-painted guy. He's like, look, I want to talk to Lord Ikie about this. I want to talk to him about the misdeeds and how he didn't really punish them for it. It seems like he was holding something back. So mustache guy pats down Tokiyuki for a weapon because, Tokiyuki, that assassin, definitely wants to kill Akie, but, it's important stuff. So he takes Tokiyuki in and says, okay, Akie, he wishes to speak with you. And Tokiyuki goes inside, and he sees Akie in plain clothing and without makeup or a top knot. He looks so still ridiculously pretty. What a difference it makes.
So gorgeous and delicate like a flower.
Yes. So Tokiyuki takes position in front of him, and Akie says, like, look, war may seem glorious, but in reality, it's ugly. You're telling the 12-year-old this, who's been running away from death for the past several years. You don't need to tell him this.
Well, no, this is the first time he's learned a lesson that war sometimes is bad.
Oh, man. War, bad thing.
That's when Void shows up. He's like, yes, war bad, humans bad, machines good.
It's just like, it's even... like his dialogue just decays as time goes by. It's like, bad people kill,
bad human, bad war, robot good, and
very good Void.
People are confused. So like Void from Undead Unluck. He just shows up in boxing gloves. Human, bad.
Punches, no miss. Oh God. So
Nick, I don't want to interrupt this tangent, but we do have breaking news. Henry Kissinger is dead.
Oh no.
The Manga bus is coming. I really wanted to like channel those. Sometimes you'd hear them on like British radio stations where it's just like a fucking techno song playing. Like, we now interrupt the station to say the Queen of England is dead, and then it just goes right back into like the techno music.
Oh man, we can no longer do that. We interrupt this to good news to inform you that Henry Kissinger is still alive. I'm gonna miss that one.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing we're gonna miss.
I'm hoping to see the sequel to that, the Grim Reaper being like, finally, I got him at the vending machine or the claw machine.
Oh man, okay. Akie brings up like, hey, war kind of sucks and people do bad things in your name sometimes. And look, I know that the people in the North have no morals, but they're doing it to support my rise to power. So what am I gonna do? And so Tokiyuki says, hey, Lord Akie, why are those guys so dedicated to you? And Akie says, who do you like in Shinkokin? Toki's like, what the fuck are you talking about poetry for? Let us speak about my time with the men in the North. Okay? Akie backstory, guys. Here it is.
We have to get it. This dude's like clearly a big character and like we can't ignore him. So we just have to accept that happens. I do like that this series is trying to address the fact that like, yes, even on your noble good side of good people who aren't evil, you are still going to commit atrocities just by the nature of how war at that time really functioned, still kind of functions, where you're just callous. You're like, shit, we need these supplies. We're going to fucking murder everything we get to get there. So we'll see how this goes, what this flashback does to kind of inform us of his character. I'm not like super excited for it, but you know, I guess we'll see.
It feels like we're doing this thing now where it's like, what's the missing element? How are we gonna? What's the last thing Akie needs in order to get over? And I'm over here just like, he needs to go away. That's what he needs to do. You need to stop trying with him and just have him go away. Stop putting Darby Allin on TV, and I'm never gonna care about him. Get rid of him.
What if we made another title and gave it to him?
Ah.
I literally sighed when I like.
What
saw
if we
the
had
news.
another legend be his friend?
I literally sighed when I saw the news that they announced that like we're doing a big New Japan Pro Wrestling style like round robin tournament. It's for a new championship we've created. Like, stop. At least give it a better name than the Continental Championship.
You've got an intercontinental champion. Stop it. No, that's an international
That's
champion.
different. Yeah, see, think about
Very
it.
different.
This championship will never be defended outside of America or something.
It's something.
Although the person who wins it will also be a New Japan champion as well.
God. All right. Akane-banashi, story 88, got me licked. So.
Oh, Nick.
Oh, damn. No, this story doesn't have anything to do with fetishes. No, stop it. So Yuzen, for whatever reason, narrates the beginning of this story, just talking about, I was like, yeah, thought this Koken guy had the eyes of a loser. It was so obvious. He's lost before he even fought. I thought he was nothing. So how? Ah! And of course, Kokuma's getting a really big reaction for telling his story, which is about guys who like licking metal. They just like licking metal objects, and even the person who's found out, oh, the old master likes to lick metal just like his son, goes, ma'am, did you hear your husband and son liked his... And, oh yes, that was what brought my husband and me together in the first place.
They were licking fucking stands on a bridge.
And I love the expression Koguma makes for the guy reacting. It's just like, what is happening? It keeps on getting huge reactions from the audience, and Yuzen's like, no, but how's he getting a better reaction than I did? And his eyes, he's like a different person now. Bold, cocky, the eyes of a winner. Yeah, because he's going.
I like how this guy's voice is apparently Sam the Eagle from the Muppets.
He is making a different expression now. This is not the American way.
The eyes of a winner.
We're gonna have to remember that for later.
This character is gonna show up all the time.
For all those Yuzen appearances, gotta keep that in the back pocket. So Koguma, he keeps continuing on with the story about how, hoping to make his son's dream come true, the old master put a ladder against the pagoda so that he could climb the tower to lick the Kiboshi. And then it's like, and he went up there and he went to get it. And when he reached his long-awaited Kiboshi at last, and Yuzen goes, if you can make eyes like that, it is the proper thing to do it from the start. He's got me licked.
I hate that I was like, fuck, they really got me on that wordplay. He's got me licked after this whole story. I was like, damn, that's some fucking spot on writing there.
Excellent. And we're just gonna have to reiterate like how difficult this actually is to dig up an old work and adapt it for this, because essentially, all the works and stories that have survived through the times are either just totally timeless, or they've been honed over the course of years continuously, and instead Koguma had to do that all in one go, all on his own in order to do it. So there's only a few people who would even recognize the amount of work that would go into this, and the majority of the public probably don't even realize how impressive this is. But given how much attention this event is getting, that's going to get noticed, and we get a flash of social media, and there's like someone who's just like, oh yeah, Koguma's, I never saw him before, he was pretty good. And then there's Rui Nakanishi comments, he was incredible that he performed this obscure story Giboshi. No one does that story. I can't believe I got to see it in person. Just like we were raging about it. So this leads to the realization, like, I kind of thought he was just for the hardcore audience, but this shows that he's got a way higher ceiling than that. Koguma comes off stage, immediately ruffles up his hair again.
Like, time to shrink into the nearest corner.
He spots Hikaru kind of looking at him. He's like, what's with that look? Oh man, you really just like put all your emotions just directly on your face, don't you? And she's like, I'm allowed to feel defeated, but also I'm kind of relieved because you really are Akane-chan Senior. You resemble her a little. And Goku was like, wait, I do? But at the same time, it's like, hey, that's nice.
Yeah.
He's like, the old me wouldn't have accepted the offer to participate in this event. But after having a front row seat to someone who lives her life like there's nothing else, spend time with the wolf, you learn to howl. It's like, aw. Just, kind of...
the classic Danzig song, Wolf Mother. Wolf Mother!
I just wanted to say, like, I like the continued, like, the two-way street of all of Akane's big brother apprentice relationships. It's very nice. Anyway, Koguma, man, you really went hard. You showed all that you were made of, all the potential, and all that hard work really paid off. Anyway, Kaisei is taking the stage. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't explicitly say it, but it sounds as though he won.
Yeah, it's never outright stated, but it's definitely implied by
yeah.
the artwork. Yeah. But we cut away from there to Gakuro, and who is on his his work study, to getting to understand more skills. He is training under Tsuruhana Kifukute. Whew, that's gonna be difficult. Tsuruhana. So she's like, yeah, look, I got that invitation from Ikeru, and I thought that it meant that, I'm sure you thought you meant that you would get a nice cushy landing, and that's not it. You got it? And he's just very seriously, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good answer. Have a candy. Yes, ma'am. So things are going okay for him. We are given, like, some more information about, like, hey, look, this is what we do when this style of raku is done. It requires for familiarity with this kind of stuff. And so she says, look, I don't expect you should need all these basic lessons. And he says, look, just teach me everything. I'm trying to start over from the beginning. Please help me learn. So he's just really seriously dedicated to it. And he's like, look, I came all the way out to Osaka so that I could absorb all this and make it my own, because that's what she would do. And we finally cut back in on Akane, who is performing at the Rakugo Cafe, and she's still got her Kigurumi on, but she's kind of got the hood thrown back a bit. So it seems we'll be checking in on that performance and see how well her promotion plans are going.
Yeah, fun chapter, nice close to the whole Koguma story, and then tease out the much more looming antagonist, and then see where a couple characters are at, and then we'll get right back to Akane.
Yeah. Okay.
Nick,
One Piece.
You want to wrap this up? Let's talk about One Piece chapter 1099.
Mm-hmm.
What a wild time to be alive. Pacifist. So, we're still in the Kuma flashback. Last time we found out King Bakori was enacting his plan to basically eliminate all the elderly on the island, to essentially make it so his country seemed more prosperous as a result. Kuma is going around trying to save people, but the people who have been saved at this point are like, Kuma, you can't keep doing this. You're just going to die. You've done enough. Meanwhile, King Bakori is just like, this worked in a kingdom to the east, so I shall use it here. I believe that was the Goa kingdom he's referencing. If not, then I don't know what it's meant to be referencing. There's not that many things going on at the East Blue.
I thought that he would be referencing Wano.
He could. I guess in my mind, this takes place in the West Blue. So if you said to the east, I would assume it's the East Blue. I don't know. This is something I probably should have looked up ahead of time. But he references someplace, and then it's just like, sometimes a good king must do what he has to. It's just what I have to do. And immediately, some people are like, fuck you. Like, there's a rebellion outside. People are like, fuck this guy. I hate you, and I want you to go away. And he's like, okay, kill some of them. Kill some of these rebellers, and you'll be rewarded. And someone gets shot. And then through the smoke comes Kuma, and he fucking is furious. We cut away over to the church where some of the elderly are kind of watching over Bonnie while also taking care of some of the wounded. And they're like, hey, stay inside, Bonnie. And she's just looking out. She's like, I hope Dad's safe. He's always such a chicken. And then immediately it cuts to Kuma just eviscerating everything. He just explodes the capital. And we get a text box that says, "This incident would be known as the Solo Revolution of the Sherbet Kingdom." Or sorbet. I guess sorbet. Yeah. It's different foods. Cut over to Seika Marijoa. As St. J. Garcia Saturn hears the news that there is a new king in Sorbet. And he's like, strange. Who is it? Cut over. Kuma has been declared the king. Not by himself. The people demanded. Everyone's just like, Kuma, Kuma, Kuma. And he is king, living out of his old church. And someone comes in and is teasing him to like, "Oh, King Kuma, my back hurts." He's like, "I'm not King Kuma. The one who actually controls the palace is old Bulldog. I'm just a figurehead to make people feel better." Which does help kind of answer the question that I had, which was like, I thought some people treated Kuma like he was a royalty before, but then there was like a completely unconnected line. So this is the explanation to that. The elders are kind of laughing because they're like, "Oh, back in Bulldog's day, we were poor, but things were a lot better." So, it's pretty good. And we see Bonnie, as we kind of know her more today, like an adult size running around. Everyone's like, "Who the fuck is that? She looks as pretty as Ginny." And everyone's all shocked.
Kuma acts like he's seen a ghost for a second because he thinks that it is Ginny because she looks just like her.
Yeah. Apparently, she just ate the devil fruit off screen. There's no detail to how she got it, where
it's not
came
like
from.
It's not like after the kingdom fell, like she explored something and found the fruit. Like she ate it at some point.
There, yeah. I guess you could easily find reasons for why this fruit got there, but it is very funnily not detailed whatsoever. But yeah, she sees her own reflection in the mirror and is stunned by how adult she looks. She's like, "What's going on?" People are like, "Oh, you should try to make yourself look older." And that's when the church is visited by old Bulldog and also someone else. So one of the guys who eventually becomes part of Bonnie's crew grabs someone and is like, "Oh no, Bonnie, she turned into an old wrinkled bag. It really worked." And there's just this woman staring at her, so we can see Bonnie just like to the left. And it turns out that's Queen Connie, who is
just this tiny shriveled old woman.
Yeah, this is the person who Bonnie turned herself into so she could attend the reverie. This is also Bulldog, who is established to be an old man's mother. So this is like that SpongeBob gag where like the old lady answers the door when they're selling chocolate and they're like, "Excuse me,
is your
lady
mother home?"
Yeah. But I love her face. She's like, "Who the fuck are you calling an old wrinkled bag?" So there's a news article that comes out in the paper that King Bakori is coming back because Kuma has been set up as this wicked dictator who took over the kingdom. So the Marines are going to help him. And, everybody's worried. They're like, "No, if King Bakori comes back, he'll have us all killed this time for sure." And Kuma's like, "Don't worry. He's not coming back here. I'll drive him away. But once that happens, I'm going to become a criminal, so I won't be able to stay here anymore. So I'm going to need you to actually be King Bulldog, and I'll need you to basically watch over Bonnie in that case." It's also very cute. We see Bonnie actually aging herself up, and she does look like Connie, and she seems to be less upset about this version. We also find out this is the person who basically gives Bonnie the hat that she would come to wear in her pirating times. So Kuma says goodbye to Bonnie and is like, "Hey, be a good girl while I'm gone." And he sails off to confront the Navy fleet where King Bakori is. King Bakori is like, "No, I'm the true king. Kill him." And Kuma's like, "Sucks to suck, but I'm not losing." And he destroys the entire Navy fleet that came after him. Doing so earns him a bounty. We cut over very briefly to see Bonnie kind of on her own. I don't know if she grew giant somehow or if it's just the perspective of the shot. Yeah, it's a little tough to tell. But she's sad. She's a little girl who misses her daddy. And everyone has to be like, no, it's he's a hero who saved the land. She's like, I don't care. He's my daddy. And once I've tended him, I'm all better. I'm going to be a pirate too. Then we get a very interesting montage, Nick. Kuma sails. Do you know where this is?
Well, I know the second shot. That's Thriller Bark.
No. Okay.
No?
No,
wait. Is that Mihawk's place?
It is the island that Mihawk resides on.
Right.
So the first place is,
I think it was Torino Island. It's like translated as like Birdie Island, essentially. That is where Chopper got sent by Kuma in the flash forward. They eventually discovered that place had like a bunch of a bunch of like medical properties in the tree. And then the island after that is Mihawk. He runs into Jet, and Abdullah is just like a little fun cameo. Then that ice island is where Frankie got sent to. He goes to Tequila Wolf, which is where Robin got sent to. Then we see the weather island that Nami goes to. The bug island that Usopp gets sent to. Basically, we see Kuma's trip around the world where he saw all these locations that he eventually sent all the Straw Hats to.
Right.
And it ends with him not finding any luck with anyone knowing how to help Bonnie, but he eventually runs into Dragon's ship, which is kind of metal. It's a black ship with a big dragon on the front. As a brief little note that Bello Betty asks Kuma if she can become the captain of the Eastern Forces, because that position has kind of been held in honor of Jenny until Kuma says differently, and Kuma's like, all right, I guess this is a position for foul-mouthed women to run. Sounds good. And this is also, they do point out that this is when Ivankov, holy shit, I'm forgetting every character's name. Ivankov and Izuma have been sent to Impel Down already, so he kind of addresses that. But Dragon's like, hey, I really want to show you some of the new recruits we have. And Kuma's even like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot. I want to help, and Dragon's like, yeah, Bonnie, I totally understand. I think I might
sacrificing everything to look after your child. I understand that, buddy. Yeah.
That's like the Going Mary passes in the background. The timeline doesn't make sense at all.
Like, we are just blaring across the horizon.
I'd do anything to see my kid again. But he's like,
someone hear something?
Dragon's like, I didn't hear anything.
He's like, yeah, I think you should talk to this Dr. Vegapunk. He's, the Navy's scientist, but he's going to be transferring locations, and this is an opportunity to actually get in and talk to him. He won't be as highly guarded. So Dragon is going to set up this meeting between the two. And we cut over. Kuma gets to return home, grabs Bonnie, heads on over to what we now know as Egghead Island. And Kuma's like, we're here for a checkup. Runs into, oh my god, I'm forgetting every character's name, Vegapunk. And Vegapunk is like, oh, you're so big! And you have little girl with the spicy mouth. And because immediately Bonnie takes one look and says, wow, look at his head. Gross.
I mean, she's right.
And Vegapunk is like, oh, you've done very well to survive the sapphire scales for so long. She will survive. I have some medical tech that I've been holding back from the public market. And he's like, yeah, we use some stem cells basically and all this stuff. It'll cost about as much work as creating a cyborg, though. And Kuma's like, oh, you're going to make her into a cyborg? He's like, no, I said it'll cost as much. And as he's looking over some of Kuma's medical notes, he's like, are you a buccaneer? I'm with the government, right?
And Kuma's like, I figured Dragon would set me up with someone who'd fuck me over, so,
Yes, you remind me of Dexter Jackson, the Super Bowl MVP.
Oh my god.
But he explains, he's like, well, I would love to get a sample size of you. And Kuma's like, wait, you want to make clones of me? And he's like, yes, I've been looking for the right person to be the base for my clone soldiers. You would just need to provide me with some samples, and I can create these clone soldiers, and I'll cover the entire cost of Bonnie's operation. And Kuma's like, well, I mean, obviously I'm not going to decline this offer, but like, what are you going to do with these clones of me, these soldiers? Like, are they going to be Navy soldiers? He's like, yes, and they'll shoot laser beams. Like, he specifically starts with that. He's like, and they shall shoot lasers from their face.
They'll be so overwhelmed by the power of science.
But he goes on to explain, he's like, they will use their rock-hard bodies to protect bullets or to deflect bullets and save people. They shall be heroes to the common man, mighty warriors from the future. And Kuma just reiterates something Dragon said to him about Vegapunk, where he's like, he's an odd man, but true to his desires and trustworthy. And Vegapunk's like, shut nerve to say that about me. But Kuma's excited. He's like,
the nerve to say such an accurate thing about me.
yeah. Kuma says, you know, maybe it's good if these clone soldiers could save, like, based on me, could save other people's lives, then maybe my own life will have meant something. So, okay, I would like to make a deal with you. He basically is just like, look, I would make a deal with you to save Bonnie's life, even if you were the devil yourself. Just save Bonnie. And Vegapunk says, oh, you are a true saint. Unfortunately, Nick, we had to cut over for a moment to Sacred Marijoa, where St. J. Garcia Saturn is listening into this conversation, and he is upset because the clone soldiers are weapons, and weapons are valued by how many they can kill. So he will not let this opportunity slip through their fingers. He says that to, somebody, basically.
But he says, I have a plan.
Yeah. And we end the chapter with Kuma saying, a saint? No, nothing like that. I'm just a weak-willed pacifist. And we get the Vegapunk laugh of pepe. I like that. I think I shall use that for the name of my future soldiers. So now...
Pacifista has a better ring to it than Future Soldier.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, Quinn, next chapter is going to be chapter 1100. I'm not looking forward to it. It feels like it's going to be a bad time because it feels like it's going to be big and big into the bad times for Kuma and for Bonnie by extension.
Yes.
And also for the world by further extension because we know like what happened in the intervening time. Like freaking Kuma got turned into a fucking heartless robot, and world government got in its way.
Whatever Jay Garcia does is going to break a lot of people's hearts. I do like how we are setting up Jay Garcia Saturn specifically to be the person who is involved in all of this. Yes. And he's the one who's here, and you're like, I need you to get hit by a meteor. Like, I need you to fucking die. I hate you so much, you piece of shit. I need someone to punch you into the ocean, basically.
Yeah. Provide a more personal stake in his involvement in the current arc, yeah. Just as a small note, I want to say that I do like that as Vegapunk and Kumar having their rather lengthy conversation, that occasionally it pans over to show that Bonnie is playing with Sentomaru's axe.
Yes, there are a lot of fun little cute details. That's just really good stuff. Yeah, as Foxcloth saying, like, if we know one member of the Gotai 5, I think, or whatever, is responsible for all this, what are the other four responsible for? Like, it's not like those four innocent, so we're gonna find out those motherfuckers are all been up to their own individual things. Goro say. So yeah, a lot of heartbreaking stuff coming, but I do like how this flashback is going.
Well, with that all said, Quinn, tell me, what was your favorite thing that happened this week? What was your favorite chapter, and who's your favorite character?
Let me think about this for a second. I think my favorite chapter was One Piece. One Piece was really exciting and fun. There's just a lot to think about, but I might need to think about my favorite character.
Okay. I'm gonna go for Greens, man.
Wow.
It was the most surprising chapter for me because I saw, a golf manga, and it was really, really good. It had the most compelling story for me in terms of a single chapter that happened this week. There was a lot of nice chapters that all happened. I thought the Blue Box was good. One Piece was good. I liked Cipher Academy, but that one was the one that hit me the hardest. So
Yeah.
that's it.
I'm going to give my character of the week in that same way to the lead from Green Green Greens. I liked him a lot. I found his character growth compelling, and I am excited to see more of his relationship with Oka.
Yeah, Haku Yesaki.
Yeah.
I am going to give my MVP. Let me just double check here. Yeah, I'm gonna give mine to Oboro from Cipher Academy. She only showed up very briefly in this, but I thought it was a very effective, short little story that was told. Of, it's just a big thing of like, oh, she sacrificed herself for her friends, and everyone was sad about it. And it was nice to add some higher stakes to this sequence because, of course, we've got like the bigger picture of like, oh, getting the freaking morgue and that one soldier with the hand signs and stuff. But it's like, no, we gotta get going because our friend is in trouble and we need to help her. It was nice to just raise that up like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. All right. The audience, by the way, has Blue Box as their chapter of the week, and tied actually with Akane-banashi. There's a bunch of ties. Oh my gosh. Tie with Blue Box and Akane-banashi for chapter of the week, and Oboro and Kuma for character of the week.
Nice. All right. Well, that is going to do it then, everybody, for this week of Weekly Manga Recap. Join us again next time when we'll be recording the show around 7:30 to 8 Eastern Time in the evening. Wednesdays is when we record it here on twitch.tv/RoloT. You can also check out the past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. It's also posted on Spotify and iTunes and other podcasty type places. And the video version is posted on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap. The video version has an introduction done by Milo Jack Stillitz and Wesley Dale Cheddar. Thank you guys for creating that for us. Occasionally has title cards made by Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out by searching for Steve Man art. It is like everywhere that art can be posted, essentially. And we also want to thank everyone who supports us over on Patreon, patreon.com/weeklymangarecap, where we occasionally have bonus episodes for you guys. A couple weeks ago, we recorded and posted a very bizarre bonus episode where we did a fantasy draft of NFL football offenses.
Using
Shonen Jump characters.
Yes.
It is still manga related, don't worry.
Yes.
And so if you become a subscriber, you can get more weird episodes like that. We also want to thank everyone on our Discord server. You can find great conversations on there. We've got a wonderful community, and you can also find the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i on there, where all the statistics associated with the podcast are tracked, including recommendations, both past and potentially future, if you want to add your suggestion for a future manga for us to check out. And I think that is going to do it here for us on the show.
Yeah, we've done everything. I guess it's time to get... Oh, how was your Thanksgiving, by the way? I didn't ask.
It was nice. I played a board game with my family.
Aw, what board game?
Bethumped. Yes, it's a very well-known one.
I've never heard of Bethumped.
It's a Trivial Pursuit style game that is about the origins of English words.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I come from a family of nerds.
Wow, yeah, that is about as nerdy of a game as you could play. You were like, hey, what if Trivial Pursuit, but nerdier?
Yep.
I'm proud of you. I have nothing. I can't just end up calling you a nerd. That's mean. I guess we are. All right, bye.